How's it going, ScrubGamers? Welcome back to another video here at ScrubGames, and today we've got another deck profile, and this time going over the Set 1 Golden Frieza leader from all the way from Set 1, and this is one that I've enjoyed playing on and off throughout the game, because I've been playing since the first set, and this is one that just gets stronger and stronger the more good Frieza Army cards we get, and we've got quite a few good ones. You've got more, like, we've been able to go for like a yellow, red, green ones. We're getting more colours. We got a few more in red as well, so you can opt for different ways to play it. And I've been recently enjoying the yellow version, just the mono yellow one, and we're getting so many better tools with the Zenkai series stuff like that. And this leader is a lot of fun, and it's been doing quite well in some events around Europe as well. And since I took this from my first round of the ScrubGames Dragon Ball Super League, I wanted to go over the deck that I took. So if anyone wanted to try it out, so if you watch a gameplay and you want to understand the list and give it a try for yourself, you can go ahead and do it. If you want to skip all this, skip all the going through the card choice to explain why they're there, the turn play knowledge and things like that, like all the good information that helps you play it better than just looking at a list. Then you don't want any of that, and you just want to look at the list, go to the description below and it's got the list to the Deck Planet link, so you can go just check it out. But if you actually want to understand it a bit more, feel free to check it out. And if you do, feel free to like, comment, subscribe. Helps me out greatly on this channel. Because we're also trying to get to 1,000 subs, which we're currently over halfway there, and every little help counts and is well and truly appreciated. So without further ado, let's get into the leader and understand this deck. So, starting off with the lead, like we always do, we've got the Golden Frieza lead, and it's quite a simple one from the first set. It has an activate main, which is the same, well, not the same exactly, but similar on both sides. So on the front side is activate main once per turn. Place one of your Frieza's Army battle cards in your drop area, so that's from your board. Choose up to one of your energy, switch to active mode, then draw one card. And its Awaken is just when you're last at 4 or less, you may draw 2 cards, flip it over. So it's one of those really defensive awakenings of drawing 2 to flip over, like we've had at the beginning of the game. It was until we got a few sets in and we started changing to untap 2, and then got the more common one of draw 1, untap 1. And when you flip over, you're now Golden Frieza, still an active main, but you also have an auto now. So your active main's quite similar in that it's got the same cost of once per turn. Place one of your Frieza Army battle cards in the drop area from your board. So same cost, and now you get to choose 2 of your energies, switch to active mode, then draw 1. So now you've upgraded from untapping 1 and drawing 1 by sacking off one of your Frieza armies. You now untap 2 and draw 1, so you get that extra value energy. So it's like a yellow Soul Strike almost in a sense, where you're getting a lot more energy than you would normally get, which is fantastic. And now you flipped over, you now got the same alter that most decks have, which is when it's got attacks, draw 1. So you get a ton of draw. Like on your Awaken turn, you get a ton as well, because you're playing out, because you're hopefully using your at least one of your energy, sacking off a Frieza Army, which is hopefully what you played out, to then get the energy back, draw a card, draw 2 more on Awakening, and then swing with the lead, and then sack off another Frieza Army to get 2 more energy back. So on your Awaken turn, you're technically using up at least 2 energy, getting back 3 energy, and drawing at least 4 cards off the lead. No, is that right? 4 cards, 1 for swing, 2 for each side. No, 5 cards from the lead. And if any of those Frieza Army cards draw a card, you get an extra on that. So you're drawing a ton on your Awaken turn and going essentially a +1 on energy as well. So you're not getting a ton of energy, but you're at least getting free energy and making use of both sides. So that's the leader. And a really nice one is that, and it's just one that is one of the few set 1 leaders that has stood the test of time and actually been quite good, similar to OG Broly that still sees a bit of play. Not as high as this one, but still some. And we'll go through the first lot of cards. So we'll start off with the cards that help facilitate the draw and the restand from the lead. So what I'm using is 4 copies of Sun Gohan and Higher Dragon New Powers Unison, 4 copies of Tagma Cold of Ice, and Ginyu Former Galactic Elite. Now we'll go over the 2 battle cards first, because they're just the more important thing of this is just 1 cost Frieza Army cards that have just the only available skill that works with this lead is just the auto. When this card is played, draw 1. So this allows you to basically have a Frieza Army you can just sack off, and also helps you draw through the deck. So you can draw a ton for this deck going on. You draw essentially 2 per turn by playing one of these for 1 energy, drawing a card, sacking off to then draw a card and untap. So you're essentially drawing 2 a turn, while still not really losing any energy. or at least just establishing these on board. And there's a very easy way to play out, which we'll see in an extra card later on. And one of the newer additions that I've been seeing for this deck is the Sun Gohan High Dragon New Pals, because this is a very nice unison. It's got a permanent that could be relevant, which is during your turn, if you have a skillless battle card in play, this guy gets 10k power for the turn. Well, just 10k power during your turn. So this one, so you can be a 15k to attack with, because you're going to get that effect, that permanent triggered, for the +1. Because it's got 2 skills. It's a 1 cost 5k unison, 2 skills, both marker skills, both activate mains. The first one is a +1, and the other one is +/0. So either way, you're not losing markers, you're going up with markers or staying the same. Now the +1 is the one we want to mainly use to like almost have an infinite way to trigger leader's effect, get more energy without paying energy. So you can that way you can use the energy for other things, then get it back by using this to bring out something, because it's play up to 1 yellow battle card with energy cost of 1 from your drop in rest mode with skills negate for the turn. So playing out one of these two, tag him or Ginyu, helps have something on board. You won't get the draw because its skills negated, but you'll still get a Frieza Army card out to be able to then sack off to untap and draw 1 for your lead. So that way you're getting extra energy per turn without using an energy, which is fantastic. And also it's a unison, so it gives you access to some unison strategies, unison cards that are I get the benefit of being able for free or needing a unison to trigger. Like you got the Release from Evil, and you also got the Vegeta counterplay if you want to put those in. So that gives it that. Plus being 1 energy means you can get that 1 back energy back on the turn you use it as well. And if you bring out the skills, you can then swing with this as a 15k, then sack the card off so you can get the maximum value of it. And if there's ever a case where you don't need to bring out one, like you've already got a target on board and you don't want to break so you can't rest mode for just attacking, your opponent just attacking to clear it without an issue and don't really care, you can always use the +/0 activate main, which is draw 1 card. So either way, you're drawing a card either from itself or by bringing out a Tagama or Ginyu to then sack off a lead to get the energy and draw. So we play 4 copies of these because at the very least you can charge it, and these are just very nice to keep that rotation going, because you've only got 8 of those 1-drops in the deck. And if you run out, you want to get them back cheap and easy, which is what this does. And also it goes into a key strategy. It helps with a key strategy in this deck, which is like a really strong thing and a good way to play this deck. So that is the main way of how you trigger the draw from your lead. Then we got some other cards. So we got 2 copies of Pan Growing Up Fast, just as a barrier cantrip. So the only relevant thing is the cantrip effect, which is when this card is played, draw 1. So more ways to draw and more ways to make use of energy, just 1 energy. Play this out, and it's barrier, so it's hard to interact with, and you can keep it on board for either the main strategy we've got for the deck, or to have as like survivable combo power. So we've got 2 copies of this. Then we've got 2 copies of Basil. Once again, never cantrip. When it's played, draw a card. Most of the cards in this deck are cantrips. You draw for your deck a lot. That's why we're over 50 cards for this one, because you draw so much, you don't want to deck yourself out. And Basil also, he does have a permanent which is basically unique before unique was a thing. And he does have a nice little effect. It gives some pressure for that 1 energy as well. In his activate main, once per turn, if your opponent has 5 or more cards in rest mode, this card becomes a 19k dual attacker until the start of your main phase. So a little bit of pressure on that as well. And this is one of the cards that is easily sideable for ever tech choices, because it's just 2 copies of a card that you can just side out easily to put in some tech choices for certain matchups. So that's that's a fantastic thing. And then we got the last real 1-drop in this deck, and it is the Way to Awaken. Because as you've seen, you can only awaken when your life's at 4 or less, and if you don't have any way in the deck to awaken, then you're hoping your opponent attacks into you. But not all decks like to attack to get effects. Like you got some leaders and some decks which don't need to swing to actually draw. They got other ways to draw without attacking, and therefore in some matchups where that happens, you're going to need a different way to awaken without having to rely on your opponent trying to do that for you. So I play 3 copies of Master Roshi Martial Master, a nice way to awaken, because he's got an auto of when this card is played, choose 1 card in your life out to your hand. So that's just when it's played. But of course, if you need to do it again and you don't have another one in your hand, you're obviously not going to be able to take any more life. But luckily, this one's got a nice little activate main of 1, which is one energy. Choose up to 1 card in your life and add to your hand as a cost. So you got to choose 1 card to add to your life, so that's what you want really. And then you get to choose 1 mutant destroying Kamehameha from your deck, add to your hand, shuffle your deck, then you get your skill for the duration of the game. So you can get 2 life off this, which is great, because all you need to do is really take 1 damage, bring out one of these, get both those effects off, and then you got another way in the Z deck to take that 4th life if your opponent ever has a way, like, doesn't try attacking to you. This is great. So these are really nice ones that each one can take up to 2 life, and also you got the benefit of having that Moon Destroyer and Kamehameha, which goes towards your really helpful floodgates like Mecha Frieza as well. So it's a nice addition if you want to put the Moon Destroyer. You don't have to if you want to, but it's a nice way to just help filter, give you an easy energy for the next turn. So 3 copies of those are quite handy because you'll at least hopefully see one at least with 3 copies, and 4 copies you don't want too many because once you're awakened, this becomes just energy or combo fodder. That's it. And then we've got 2 copies of Metacooler Infinite Terror. This is a very nice new addition for yellow, and it's really handy in that you got a lot of Z focus now. Like Z cards are a big thing now in the meta, and with the new series, and this one's a really nice one because it's a 2 cost 10k, and it's got a nice little counter attack, which is limit 1. If your leader is mono yellow, which ours is, and you get your attack and play this card, so you can get essentially a negate out of this, and you get to play it on the board. And it's not enough to be scoffed at, because even though it's 10k, it does have 2 permanents, which are very nice. First one is the best part about it, which is if you have a Z leader or a Z battle card in play, which you can easily establish, and it's just any Z card or any Z leader, you can activate this card's counter skill from your hand without paying its energy cost. So that means with just any Z card on board, you get to use this as a free negate, which is really nice. We know that free negates are really good, especially if you drop a mecha, then drop this, they've had the rest and get no value out of it. And the other permanent makes it actually quite nice as well, which is permanent bond 2, so you just need another card on play, which hopefully, if you're playing it out as a free negate, you've got a Z battle card in play. This card gets 5k power and barrier just permanently, so it gives that a nice little bit of protection with another battle card in play, and it gives 15k, so at least threatening awakened leaders at the very least for an attacker. So we have 2 copies of these because at the very least it's going to be charge fodder or combo power if need be, but it can be quite useful, and 2 copies means we got enough to see it when we see it, and since you draw a lot in this deck, that shouldn't be an issue. Then we've got 3 copies of our Krillin super combo, just one of the best super combos, the best like arrow super combos from set 11. These are really nice. It's a mono yellow deck, but with a few non-yellow tech choices in it. And as long as you've got all yellow energy and a yellow leader, you could basically put a card from your hand back to your deck. So it's like back in your deck that you want there to be able to just draw 2 new cards. Very good super combo. Any deck that doesn't have a focus or a specific archetype that's more beneficial, we'll be normally running these kind of use super combos for it. And then we've got 4 copies of Mecha Frieza Robotic Posts. I know I've seen some decks now, they've been going down to maybe 2 or 3 copies. They've been lowering the copies of this because sometimes it's not as strong as it could be at certain decks. But you're going to always want to play 4 copies of this in the deck because this is another card that is a Frieza Army, so at least at the very least, if you use this as a floodgate and your opponent ends the turn, you can at least attack with this and then use it as fodder for the leader to sack off to get the untap of however many you are, many energy depending on which side you're on, and a draw. So it's a never target for the lead to get that energy and draw. So you run a 4 copies for this, because even at the very least, as well, if you don't use a floodgate, it can still come down for a 1 as long as you've got 2 extra cards either in your energy or drop to reduce it on your turn as just a 1 cost 15k attack. You can sack off to get the energy and a drawback. Then for a mainstay play, we've got one of the parts as well is to give some barrier removal, because I always say this in my deck profiles, is every deck needs barrier removal because cat barrier is a thing you don't want to get caught out by, and there's some very, very strong cards, so you do have barrier and you want to deal with them. And Pan is a very good one for us. We play 3 copies of this because it's always going to want to be Z charge as well, and it can help very easily fill up your Z energy as well. To help one of our great yellow Z battle cards. And it's got deflect, unique, and dual attack. So, and it's only a 10k, but the 10k is not going to be an issue because I said it charges the energy very easily with one of its autos. And like with another card in there, it's got a horrible little permanent, which is a shame, but it is what it is. That when this card would leave your battle area, remove it from the game instead. So you lose this for good if it leaves the battle area. And deflect means it's going to be protected from coming out, so it can't be stopped by pesky counter plays. And dual attack means you can get at least two attacks out of it, which is quite nice. So how you're playing this, you don't play it for free, you play it for 1 energy, and that's with his first auto, which is by paying 1 yellow. If your leader is yellow and your opponent has 2 or more energy, when you place this card from your Z energy in your drop to pay a Z energy cost of a mono yellow Z battle card with energy cost of at least 2 or more, play this card from your drop, then choose it to one of your opponent's battle cards in rest mode, ignoring barrier and KO it. So you got a nice little bit of barrier removal, and play this out for 1. So normally when you're playing this, you're paying 3 anyway, because you're paying at least 2 for, because you need a minimum of a 2 cost mono yellow Z battle card, and you need never energy to play it out. But it's not an issue when your leader can then just go ahead and untap at least 1 to 2 energy, depending on its side. So this is really nice. And the other auto is how it's not really a 10k, because second auto is when this card attacks, use up to 1 mono yellow card with 5k combo power from your drop in a combo with its skills to get for the battle. And we got a ton of those. You're hopefully never going to have not have a target in your drop then in combo with this to get that Z energy charged, so you can get more value from your Z deck as well. So we play a good 3 copies of those, so we got at least enough to see at least 1 in a game, and yeah, it should be fine there. And then next we have Swift Retaliation Cooler. Every yellow deck's really running this because this is one of the few counters in the game currently, and it's a very powerful one. Even though it's quite costly at 3, it's not that costly considering your leader can untap energy. And the only thing is, it's just sad that it's not Frieza Army, but makes sense it's not because it's Cooler and not a Frieza. Cooler was never part of Frieza's army. And it's just very handy, just if your leader's yellow, you get your counter and play this card, and free energy is not that much of an issue, and it can draw you quite a few cards because you get at least 1 when you play it, and if you've got enough cards in rest mode, you can get an extra 1. So we've got 2 copies of this to help us just with our game ending pushes if we ever need be, and yeah, it's just at the very least charge or a combo. And then we've got a secret rare, so this is probably the absolute best super combo for yellow, just a fantastic one. There are some other super combos you play in yellow, but this is at the moment currently, like how Hatch used to be, probably the best one, and is running almost every yellow deck as long as it can facilitate it, because it's a super combo, so it's taking up one of your super combo slots, which is why we've only got 3 Krillins, and your secret rare slot as well. And it's a 40k with a 30k combo as well, so it's 5 cost, so 5 cost 30k combo, but the 5 cost is never going to be paid as 5 because it's got a lovely little permanent, which when this for each card your opponent has in rest mode, you reduce the combo cost of this card you have by 1. So your opponent's got 5 in rest, which is very easy to facilitate for yellow. Then you get this as a free 30k combo, which helps you out combo some big swings very well, or push some big damage as well from just 1 card. It does also have a permanent like most, but then it's kind of tied, doesn't matter that much because of how Ultimate is now, which is when this card is removed from your battle area, it's removed from the game instead. And it's got 2 lovely autos, which if your leader card is yellow, a Sun Gohan Adolescence, or a Piccolo card. At the end of a battle, when this card is used in the combo from your hand, play this card from your drop area, so you get to play it when you combo with it. And then when this card is played in the second auto or attacks, you draw 1 card and choose one of your opponent's battle cards or unison cards and switch to rest mode. Very handy, especially defensively. You're going to get this come down and draw at least 1 and tap something down, at least 1 thing. And when you play on your turn and you combo with this, you're going to get at least 2 draws out of it. 1 from when it's played, 1 from it attacks, and rest 2 things out of it from the same thing. So fantastic secret rare, and just as amazing. With this deck, when you're looking for your deck, you can always see if it's in your deck with one of our extra cards, which you'll see in a sec, or even with Roshi. And then we've got 4 copies of Sun Gohan Flash Brilliant. So it's the ever big thing that partners with the PAM, so our main play, which is dropping this as our main boss monster. And this is Sun Gohan Flash Brilliant, so it 8 cost 30k, as Deflect and Dual Attack. So being 8 cost with Deflect means it's out the range of those 3 pesky counter plays that try to hinder stuff. And it's got EX Evolve Limit 1 for 1 yellow and 2 of any colour, on top of a yellow Sun Gohan SH, and you're not going to be playing this, well, paying for this with free energy. You can pay it for 1, which you'll see in a bit why, because that's a card in the Z energy, it helps facilitate that. But it does have 2 permanents. First one is similar as Pan and the secret rare, which if it's removed from battle area, it's removed from the game instead. And also the never permanent, which means you can activate this card's EX Evolve in your drop. So you can always discard this or combo this off and use its Z energy, and it's not dead in your drop because you can always EX Evolve it from the drop. And it's got 2 very handy permanents. So the first one is the reason we play some 2 1-drop pans and 3 of the 3-drop pan, and that's because if you have 4 more energy and a yellow pan SH in play, when this card is played, it gains double strike and barrier for the turn. So When you play it and you've got a pan on board, you then become a 30k double striker that has dual attack and barrier, so 2 swings, 30k double strike is very, very powerful. And another reason, which is why the Unis is very good, and the Unis is not just there for having that free recursion of a Frieza Army to get fodder for your leader. It also helps with this boss card as well, because second auto is if you have a yellow Unis in play, when this card attacks, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards in rest mode, negate its skills for the turn, and KO it. So you get a nice little bit of removal. That even negates skills, so it gets through things like indestructible and stuff like that. It doesn't get through barrier, but it still gets through most things as long as it doesn't have barrier, which is very good. So that's a big boss card, and then we've got some. Now we've got more of the text that aren't yellow cards. So we've got Mirror Creator's Orb. Most people will like really see this a lot in yellow leads, because Mirror, when it attacks, it gets a huge buff, because the only relevant things on here is that it's an overwhelm 4 for 1 energy, has deflect, and the first auto is irrelevant because it doesn't work with this lead, but it's the ever one, which when this card attacks, this card gains 5k power for each card in your warp for the duration of the turn. So that means when you swing, if you've got a ton of cards, if you've got at least 10 cards in your warp, it gets an extra 50k on top of that. So the more cards you have in your warp when this swings, the more powerful it becomes. And sometimes it becomes so powerful that it's very hard or almost impossible to combo out. And a simple negate would normally stop this, but luckily with Swift Retaliation Caller, when you've got 4 energy open and you drop this, and as long as it can still attack, you're going to swing with this. If they try to negate the attack, you can play out Swift Retaliation Caller to counter the counter and allow this attack to go through and potentially finish off the game, or even, yeah, just finish it off there as long as you have a blocker, which normally you're going to manage because you're yellow. So that is our one overall in the deck. And to go with it, we've also got a Black Smoke Dragon as well. Since we can untap energy, we can play this without worry about how much energy we've got, if we're wasting our turn. And that's because normally this card sees main play in, well, it's main play in some black decks, because unless you're playing Cumber, you haven't got really any good barrier removal. And most blue decks like Crimson and stuff, if you like, blue is the main color that can really manipulate its energy and get more energy than it should have through things like Soul Striker, Crimson Goku, and things like that. So it's mainly played at least mained in those decks, whereas most other decks decided to cut when they come up against the decks that have decks that revolve around a key strategy that this can deal with. But we're going to main one because where we can untap our energy thanks to our leader being like a yellow Soul Striker or a yellow Crimson, we can make use of this as the main to deal with certain strategies. So we've got the one in there and we can sign more copies. And then we've got the Champer. Champer's a great way to finish off games, especially since you can drop out for quite cheap one of these Gohan Flash of Brilliances, Mirror, or your Secret Rare to push through a big double strike swing and chuck this on to make it so it has double strike and push through, which is really nice. So one copy of Champer to help push through, because most decks run it. Some decks don't always, but we do have it in here because we can always get the energy back and make sure we've got that one energy for it. And then that concludes all our battle cards. So now we have the extra cards. So we got a good six extra cards, and you probably know what the first two are. The first two being the Power of the Super Set, being such a good secret rare, such a good yellow extra card that it was limited because of how powerful it was, and it can be used as a negate, which is counter attack, negate the attack for 1, or you can use the Activate Battle, which is if your leader is mono yellow, draw one card and choose it to one of your opponent's battle cards or units, which is the rest mode, and then you can activate the Activate Battle skill and copies of this card for the turn. But that's fine because of the fact that using limited, so that doesn't make any difference really to us. It also does have a permanent which allows you to use the Activate Battle skill for free if you have one or more mono yellow energy in active mode, so which can easily be facilitated. You normally always want to have one yellow energy open for Robotic Repose, so you can use it as a floodgate negate. And you can before you do that, you can always use this to then rest something down, like survive one attack or take it, rest something down, and have Mecha to then use as a floodgate negate on a more important attack. So that is the first yellow extra card. Then the next one is one that is really powerful. It's leading us the same thing, which is Cold Bloodlust. This card is a card that's limited to leaders that have Frieza Army in their trait, which lucky our leader does, and it's such a powerful extra card, just like Powder Super Saiyan, that it was limited for that very reason. And it is called Bloodlust. Counterplay: if your leader is a Frieza Army card, the battle card being played has the skills negated for the duration of the turn, meaning that anything that comes down that doesn't have deflect is just instantly getting wiped and becoming skillless from this. So play one copy of this because there's no reason not to play. If you could play more, you would definitely play more because it's such a powerful card. And another one of those like busted cards from set 1 that had to be restricted in some way. And lucky for us, it's limited to 1. And next we have some different decks. So we've got 4 Frieza Cool. So this is the extra card that helps filter through your deck and make another way to have pseudo copy, essentially give yourself 8 copies of Tyrant Blow and Ginyu. Because this one is an 1 cost extra card, activate main, choose 1 Frieza Army card with an energy cost of 2 or less from your deck, and play it in rest mode and then shuffle your deck. So essentially, if you don't have a Tagema or Ginyu in your hand, but have this, you can always keep this. And this is great because it's an extra card that plays the 1-drop from the deck, which means you're filtering 2 cards because you play it on a 1-drop of Tagema or Ginyu, and then drawing off that card, so you filter for 2 cards per deck. And it's an extra card that goes towards reducing the cost of Mecha Frieza Robotic Riposte by 1 because it's an extra card. So very fantastic. So if you don't draw one of those, but you draw this, it gives you essentially 12 technical targets, and then potentially 16 with the Unison being able to grab back and drop as well. So always going to play 4 copies of this because it's such a good extra card, like meshing so well the deck in its consistency. And then we have 2 copies of Release from Evil. I chucked these in because I really like this one being having the opportunity to be played for free when you got the Unison out, so you can keep your energy for every extra cards or robotic post, things like that. And this just being a really nice one, just to negate skills on not just battle cards that attack or Unisons, but also leaders. And there's some leaders that could be like very annoying when they swing or do certain things. And if they run into this, you can just shut off their whole ability. So things like Gamma and SS3, if they attack with their lead, and you Release from Evil, they don't get their full effects. So like Gamma can't add back 3 at the end of the turn, and S3 can't untap 3 energy at the end of the turn, meaning that they have to rethink what they're going to do for that turn. Now that leader's shut off. And this is really good if your opponent's trying to swing in with like a quad strike, triple strike, double strike to finish you off. You can just use this, make it so it can't attack again, so any cards that have dual attack or triple attack then get kept down and forced to stay in rest mode, and then have the skills negated as well, so that triple strike, double strike or quad strike is now invalid, and now they're just doing 1 damage if it goes through. And it's a permanent allows you to play it for free, where if you have a yellow Unison kind of play, you can play the counter without playing energy costs. So I have 2 copies of this because it's very nice, and it's just so far testing quite well. Because as you'll see in the game against the Cell, when he swung crit, I was able to use this to make it so the card didn't have crit, so I could take the damage and not lose the card to my drop. And then we have 2 copies of Chronicle Blow. This is a very nice card, and once again, all these extra cards add to Robotic Riposte to make it a little bit cheaper. So at the very least, if they're not useful in that matchup, you can always charge them and then slide them out for games 2 and 3. And Chronicle Blow is a very nice card because sometimes you don't want to play a full free energy for the Swift Radiation for cooler, and there are some counter plays that your opponent's playing that are just like 1 cost or 2 cost. And like the attack you're like swinging in is not the final attack or the big ending push, and you kind of want to kind of like stop their floodgate, but without like using most of your energy. And Tyrannical Blow is a really nice one because if your leader is yellow, if the battle card being played and she also 3 or less, it's played with the skills negated for the turn, and then you choose up to 1 of your opponent's battle cards or Unison cards and negate the skill for the turn. So this is very handy in that if you're playing against someone and they're playing a floodgate, but you don't want to pay 3 for cooler to stop it, but you still want to stop it, but you don't mind letting it still negate the attack. You can Tyrannical Blow it, so if your opponent's played a Topo, Mecha Frieza, you can Tyrannical Blow it to make it so it comes down without a skill, so it doesn't get a floodgate off, and then get the benefit of negating the skills on one of the battle cards or Unison cards for the turn as well. So you're still stopping that floodgate. They're stopping your attack, but you're still stopping the floodgate, so you can still carry on unhindered and keep trying to push through like you wanted to. Very nice card, and it is another extra card that is easy to side out depending on the matchup. And then for our final lot of cards, bring us up to 53 cards till, is 2 copies of Frieza Army Reinforcements. So this is a very nice card. 2 copies. because every deck's running token negates because they're very handy in the fact they can just negate an attack and also provide you with a blocker token that helps stop a never attack. So essentially it can stop 2 attacks, and the only downside is unlike the red, black and green one, this one is just like the blue one where the token that you're playing is a 10k blocker, so a little bit easier to block with and still push through damage if it stays there, but can never be comboed off because it has no combo power unlike the red, black and green one. So this is very handy as well. You get a player token that you can block with, percent 2 attacks, and you can play it for free. But if you have 5 or less life, you can take a life instead of paying this card's cost when you play the counter attack skill. So that's another fantastic way if you get put down to 5 life and you want to get down to 4, you both trying to swing through the double striker to try and push your life down lower. You can always use this, stop the attack, and put yourself down to 4, so you're then able to perform a good awakening turn. So that is the complete main deck. That is the 53 cards. And we'll go on and have a look at the side decks. I do have a Z deck and a side deck. So this is the Z deck and the side deck for the deck. So for the Z deck, we've got 1 copy of SSB Vegeta, just a very nice one to help also self-awaken if you get pushed down to 5, or well, if you get pushed down to 5, you can just use this for without much use of your hand to bring it out, take a life, and also plus you 1 as well, because you put back 1 card from your hand from your deck, preferably 1 card you want in your deck. Like, say you need a Tyrant Blow deck ready for the extra card, Frieza's Army, Frieza's Cool. Then you get to go ahead and put that back to then take a life, draw a card, and then you've plus 1 in hand, and you're then 1 closer to awakening. So it's really handy to just have one of those, and we would play one of those because it's unique, and sometimes your opponent just likes to leave it there and not get rid of it, so you can't play another one. Then we got 1 Oolong, just for a nice 1-cost play to just push through a big swing, since you can get out a lot of free big swings or cheap big swings, like Mirror being a very good one. The Secret Rare and the Gohan, you can easily get this out, copy it, have another big swing for such a small amount of energy. Then we got 3 copies of Gohan Facing Your Foes. This is the card that helps facilitate bringing out the 8-drop a little bit easier. And it's another way to bring up Pan, because it's a 2 cost 15k, that requires 1 Z energy. It's deflecting dual attacks, so just like Pan, it's being protected from coming out but from counter plays, and it can get 2 swings in, so you can at least 1 swing with this before you evolve on top the 8-drop. And it makes the 8-drop cheaper because it's permanent, where you reduce the EX Evolve skill of a cost of yellow Sun Gold and SH cards in your drop or hand by 2. So that normally that cost that's free, it goes down to a 1 cost. So you just pay 2 for the bring this out, and then 1 for the Gohan from drop, and you can get at least 3 swings because you get 1 swing for this, and then 2 swings from the 8-drop because it's a dual attacker at the very minimum. So that is why we got only 3 copies of these. We only got Frieza to 4 because we want to facilitate some other cards. And another card I really like to have in the deck is SSB Son Goku Evolved Defender. This is a really nice one, 25k, deflect barrier, only 3 costs, we need 2 Z energy costs, so not that expensive. And it's got 2 very nice autos. The first one is something that was almost kind of locked just having for Yellow Sin, which is when this card is played, choose it to one of your opponent's leader, unison, or battle cards in rest mode, and it can't attack until the end of your opponent's next turn. Now it's a very nice card to lock out your opponent having a leader swing, and having something like Forbidden Power or Nimbus to then use on their first swing of something else. Means you can limit how many attacks they have for the turn to survive a little bit easier. And you can also control how your opponent plays and what they can actually attack with. In its second auto, which if this card is in rest mode, so when you play this, you at least want to have it attacked in rest, so this affects live. When your opponent plays a card, you may choose one of your Z energy in its owner's drop. So place one of your Z energy in its owner's drop. If you do, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards or unisons, switch it to rest mode and get your skill for the turn. So that's very nice if your opponent plays quite a bit of energy to play something out and it doesn't have barrier, you can just go use the effect, lose the Z energy to put in rest mode so they can't attack with it. So kind of hinder how many attacks they can get in a turn. You can even use it defensively as well, if you swing with this and your opponent wants to play a token negate, you can then rest that token, so even though they've negated the attack, the token is then switched to rest mode so it can't attack. So a very useful card offensively, defensively. Remember, if you've already got a Frieza Army on board, you can then play this out, then sack off that Frieza Army to untap some energy, so you're not defenseless with no energy out. So that's the entire Z deck. Then you have some side deck card choices. We've got Vegeta, Unison Fury for decks that like to bring out big costs quite cheap, quite early. You can kind of put a stop to that for a bit, which is quite nice. And you've got plenty of cards. Then you can put the rest mode, so you can play out a cantrip Frieza Army card, play that out, switch that to rest mode, and then sack off for lead, so you can get use of that. And then some easy switches out for Basil. if you want to, is Chi-Chi, Martial Matriarch, Melee Matriarch. You can normally have this as a way to deal with blue with their D-Magics to shut them off. And it's also just the same as Basil cantrip, but also it's barrier, so if you need just to have, if you want to make use of the energy and keep it around for combo power, you can just got that, or just use it against D-Magic. And you got Trunks of Cunning, a nice one for, what used to be good for against things like Bean, just to hinder that, but now it's just more for if you're going against blue and you feel like they're going to be playing Kaioken Goku, have this as a way to stop untapping all their energy when their turn being more offensive. And also it works out just like Basil, a cantrip as well, and that'll affect him. And now this doesn't affect you with your untapping with your lead, because it does only affect extra cards and battle cards that want to untap during the owner's turn, not the leader like yours does. Then for the later game, against blue and everything, so you've got Frieza Divine Transformation. It's really nice because there's Deflect, Double Strike Barrier, Deflect, Double Strike Blocker, so nice about pressure, and it's got a very handy permanent, which means this card can't be removed from your battle area by your opponent's skills. So unless there's a deck that can reduce this to 0 power, they're not getting rid of this at all, or unless they negate the skills, which only normally comes in the form of yellow, and red is the color which normally has to reduce it, but you don't play this against red because you're never going to get that far, or get full value out of this. And this is really handy. I mainly use this against blue because it's not a nice auto where if your leader card is yellow when this card attack is played, choose all your opponent's battle cards in rest mode, KO them, then flip one face-up card in your life face down at the end of your turn, which is card to active mode. So you don't get the flip life flip thing because that's only relevant to the deck it was released for. But you get the whole pay this out for 5, KO all their battle cards in rest mode, not ignoring barrier, which is a shame. And also get them to swing for a 25k double striker, and then restand at the end of the turn, the turn you play it, to have as a blocker them. And the handy thing about this, if they go to use a counter attack on this, you got the auto, which was returned when your opponent activates a counter attack skill. Choose up to 2 of their cards, switch into rest mode, and they can't be switched to active mode until the end of your opponent's next turn. So it's really handy. You drop this, and if they want to use any counter attacks during that turn to defend themselves, you can be locking down any two of their cards, as long as it doesn't have barrier. So you can be locking down leader, locking down battle cards, locking down energy. The main thing you'll be doing is either energy or leader cards, depending, because it's only 2 cards. So either lock down 2 energy so they don't get 2 less energy on their next turn, or leader and an energy so that way they can't swing their lead unless they awaken that turn, or Z-Awaken, and an energy as well. So a very handy card for late games. And we've got another Black Smoke for if you need a second one. Then we've got Sun Gohan and Videl Power Couple. Now this one I find quite handy. In some decks have some 1-drops that they have with barrier that they want to keep out to make use of things. So they have cards out that normally they want to put down quite low, 5k or less, that get full benefit for them, or are quite an impact to you, like a negative impact to you. And this is a really nice way to do it, to get rid of them, because it's just got a nice little activate main for 1 yellow energy. If your leader is yellow and you place this card from your hand and you draw 1, so you at least replace it in your hand. Then choose up to 2 of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier, and you get minus 5k power for the duration of the turn. So things like AOD when you got Barbody, use this to minus it by 5k, so they have to you take away their reduction of agent destruction cards by 1. And it's also making use of energy, getting a draw card so you can then restand it as well from the leader, and it's very handy in that. And also it works on if you're against black, green or red when they use a token negate and get a token, you can use this to get rid of the token because they're only 5k, minus it so it's out the way and made use of an energy, so you can have that benefit there as well. Then we have 2 copies of Vegeta's Final Flash, something you can take out the Tyrannical Blow for, to just have barrier ignorance by just being able to use this to increase the attack of a swing you're doing, or give an extra boost defensively for a battle, and also be able to shut off some skills through barrier so you can ignore that card that has barrier. So we've got 2 copies of that. Then we've got other tech cards. We've got 1 copy of Realm of the Gods. So if you're going against a deck that wants to go wide, Realm of the Gods Black Kamehameha is a good one. Be able to either on your turn use it to remove things that are higher cost in energy, so a bit of removal in rest mode, and defensively be able to rest 2 other things that aren't attacking to kind of stop 3 attacks, well, comboing 1 and rest 2 other cards to potentially attack, and also drawing a card so you technically becoming like a super combo, a 10k boost for that attack and still drawing a card, but for 1 energy. Then you got Forbidden Power, another one, a nice little counter attack that you can use. So this one's, I prefer this one over Nimbus because Nimbus you have to discard, which you don't always want to do. And while this one lets the attack go through. So you got the counter attack. If your leader is yellow, your opponent can only attack with battle cards one more time for the turn. So this is a really nice 50 swing of the leader. You can restrict them down to one battle card swing, even though that attack will still go through. And it does have a nice little niche of the activate battle skill, where if your leader is yellow and it's your turn, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier, switch to rest mode, then choose up to one of your yellow cards and it gains 10k power for the battle. So you can use as a 1-cost 10k swing and rest so ignoring barrier, which could be handy, but it's mainly for the floodgate. And then we got one extra copy of it, Frieza Army Reinforcements, just in case you need extra negates, and the token negates are really good. We've got an extra copy of that in this side. So that is the deck. So hopefully, if you're watching this, you enjoyed the list, understand how it works a bit more. The turn play depends on how you play it. But normally, is on turn 4, you're normally going to be going you're going to hopefully be awakened and going for the Gohan play. So that way because then you've got the 2 energy for Gohan, the 1 energy for Pan if you don't have the 1-drop Pan on the board, and you need to get the Inheritance Bloodline out, and then an extra energy for Gohan, and hopefully have a Frieza Army on your board so you can then restand 2 energy to have 2 energy then for defense, or to chuck down a Mirror Champa or Secret Rare Champa kind of thing to kind of push through. And also, there might be times when you just want to drop the Evolved Defender from your Z deck to then just stop the leader from attacking, put some pressure on, and on their turn make it so they can't attack with leader, and also then have Cooler to negate to stop an attack, and the Goku to then rest to bring out to make it easier to survive, then have more things set up to then do your kill play. So that is it for today, that is it for that. Thank you for watching, hope you enjoyed, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye for now.